Welcome to the Bourbon Master YouTube channel. My name is Chris Wilkie, and I'll be the one walking you through all of the bourbon tastings and all the other videos you'll find on this channel. This is my second review that we're doing, so you're going to see me a lot with different bourbons. I try to do them as my kiddos going to sleep. And what I want to talk about is I'm not going to be your crazy bourbon taster dude. I'm an average guy. I teach, I like to drink bourbon, and I like to play golf. Am I going to tell you everything under the sun about a bourbon? No. I'm going to tell you what I like, what I taste, and give you some perspective on that. In addition to this channel, I do some other reviews specifically around barrel selects in the Indiana region, and I'm going to expand to other regions as well. But the idea is I taste it so you don't have to buy it before you taste it or have an idea of what it tastes like. Then you can go buy it if that sounds good. So I did this one. It's on my Patreon site. I'll put that link below. It was a Hugh Hamer double oaked, a little bit of a tidbit. It's very oaky. I like oak a lot, so it was nice. But if that's not up your alley, don't waste your time buying it. But Hugh Hamer's, that's West Fork whiskey. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be tasting the big boy here, Eagle Rare. So let me give you a story here. This is the big bottle. So we're the 1.75 liter bottle. You may be wondering how I got my hands on such a bottle. Dumb luck would be the correct thing. I was in my local liquor store and I was wandering around trying to buy my wife some St. Elmo's, which is the local steak chain in Indiana, or the big steakhouse downtown. And they have some espresso martini that's pre-mixed. So I was walking around looking for it. I can buy me a 6-pack craft beer, and I see this lady that works at the liquor store carrying bottles of like 16, 18-year-old George Dickel, and she took them into this room. So I looked in, I'm like, what are you doing? And I saw all of this allocated bourbon sitting back there. So of course, me being nosy, I said, hey, how can I buy some of this? And she goes, well, she gave me, I need to talk to my manager, maybe do it today. Long story short, the next day we showed up and I got this puppy at MSRP $61.99 for the 1.75 liter bottle. And that is a good deal because I hate paying allocated prices for it. So Eagle Rare, it's from Buffalo Trace, obviously. It's kind of their step up after Buffalo Trace. Then you go into the E.H. Taylor and you get into Stags and you get into Blanton's and you get down the Pappy. You got some Weller there as well. It's all in that kind of world and ballpark of those bourbons. So that being said, I personally find I like Eagle Rare and E.H. Taylor the best out of those that profile. Don't get me wrong, Blanton's is great, but I have something for this bourbon. So you smell it. Obviously, I'm going to smell that bourbony vanilla caramel right away. So, as I always do, pour myself a drink, and I use my wonderful Yeti tumbler that I like to use on these. And I always am on the rocks. Again, I use Opal Ice. I have one of those GE Opal Ice makers that I have in there. Way pricey, but fantastic for these tastings and bourbon, in my opinion. The cup keeps it so the ice doesn't melt. This ice will probably hold until about the morning. So it makes it really nice for me when I drink these. I can meander around and do stuff. So, me smelling this right away. I get caramel. I get heavy oak. I get a little bit of that, I won't say smokiness, but maybe a little bit there. And it's got a little bit of a sweet nose to it too. Again, you're going to find, I don't have the best words yet. You'll probably 2 years from now, you'll go, oh, he's sounding so professional. Nah, I'm just going to have a drink right now. So let's go with the initial drink. Okay, so it's not overly boozy. I'm not getting that real big like ABV kick that I tend to find on some higher alcohol beers, or not beers, liquors. We're looking here, it's 45% by volume. It's aged 10 years. Really, it's got some of that like burnt caramel, kind of that butterscotchy taste profile there. When it finishes, I taste a little bit of citrus and lemon. I know lemon's a citrus, but I kind of go that way with a little bit of minerality to it at the finish. And it really does finish really kind of smooth and soft on my tongue. Yeah, so I'm tasting this again. It's kind of like you get, I don't know the best way to describe this, the Maker's Mark Fall Pack. I know Maker's Mark has a whole different mash bill when it goes through all this stuff. But this sits in the front and it kind of rolls around. And I think you can taste the aging. You still taste a little bit of that corn sweetness too. And as it rolls back, you get the alcohol burn that kind of just falls back on that tongue. And then I think you get a little bit of that, like I said, lemon and a little bit, I'm not sure if it's orange. I think there may be a little mint and some minerality in there too. When I say minerality, I'm thinking, you know how you would drink like well water? There's just a little bit of that flair, and you know it's not been processed through. I can taste just a little bit of that from my childhood. Now, this bottle, would I pay $200 for it? Not a chance in the world. $61.99, hell of a deal. I mean, really. I would go buy this in a heartbeat. As I mentioned, this is probably one of my favorite in the Buffalo Trace lineup here. I like the other ones, but this just for the price point, I think is really nice. An average bottle is $34.99, I think, if you're able to find it at Buffalo Trace or in a liquor store. I know in the secondary market, you're going to be paying way more. I try to avoid that. But if you haven't had this, I highly recommend trying to get it. It's I always like to tell everybody, this is kind of the one thing, if you haven't tried it and you're in the Indianapolis area, go to Ruth Chris on 82nd, 86th, the one there right past Keystone at the Crossing. This is an $11 pour of bourbon if you go up to the bar. Ask them for a bourbon list. It's $11. It's been like that for the last year and a half. If they still have it, this is where to go try it at in the Indy area. And then you can tell me if you like it. I would say $11 a pour, easy. I mean, Woodford there I think is 12. So this is actually lower. Yeah, don't get me started on why that's the case. But I will always kind of default to Eagle Rare if I get an opportunity to do so. So I don't think, if you're curious on profile between E.H. Taylor, Blanton's, I just was drinking some E.H. Taylor last night, just had some Buffalo Trace. There was a barrel pick from Crown Liquor yesterday as well, actually this afternoon. I think that this kind of sets itself apart a little different than the rest of them. I don't taste a lot of the lemony and the minerally and that minty in the rest of those. I tend to find more of that oak and caramel and vanilla. This has that, but it's got just a little bit different flair at the end. So I guess if I was tasting around and I had a bottle that wasn't like all the rest and it was still freaking good, I'd probably do something like this. So again, this is your Kentucky Straight Bourbon Eagle Rare. So if you have any questions, leave them below. Tell me what you think as well. Again, my review may not be the best, but it's going to be my honest take on what we're doing here. Again, I am the Bourbon Master. That's complete BS, but that's the name I came up with, the URL. So you're watching the Bourbon Master YouTube channel. Please check out the links below and have a great rest of the night.